What up everyone, it's your man XMan87 here, bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is the Marvel Legends Secret Wars Retro Wave Review. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now with that said, let's go! First up, let's take a look at probably everyone's most anticipated figure out of this wave, the first appearance, Symbiote Spider-Man. You know, I had to start off this review by posing him in his iconic pose from that Secret Wars issue number 8 cover. I'm not going to cover articulation, as you already know what to expect. He's on the Amazing Fantasy body, so he poses extremely well for Marvel Legends standard. The only thing I will say is that they just need to add toe joints for this body, at least for Spider-Man. We get a new head sculpt here, which looks great, much different from the retro one, so you can see the difference there. It is a lot different, a lot smaller to fit this body, as it is a smaller body. I just don't know what's up. I got this weird plastic cut right there on the eye, and that is bothersome, but for the most part, the paint apps are really clean. And the symbiote logo looks fantastic. It came out clean for the most part. The legs are painted over the shoulder joints right here. So you will see when you're posing him, it may disrupt the logo. But, you know, if that doesn't bother you, it's no big deal. I do like how the paint on this new one is much better than the retro one. I feel like they did a better job with the paint coating on this one. And as you can see, it's a different spider logo altogether, because this is based off that first ever symbiote spider logo from Secret Wars. The symbiote logo on the back is a little bit smaller than the one on the front, and that's pretty accurate. You can see the comparisons on the back for these two. And again, the paint overall is pretty clean from the spider legs going around the rib cage. So I do like that. And because this is based off the first symbiote suit, the web patches on the hands are a more triangular shape, where later down the line they changed it into a more rectangular, squarish shape. They did sculpt new biceps for him, as the Amazing Fantasy had the peg holes to plug in the web wings. And as you can see the difference here, it's a lot more muscular. The muscle definitions just pop out more. And the rest of the figure is a solid black. For accessories, besides the wall-crawling hands, he also comes with a set of whipping hands, a pair of fists as well. And my favorite accessory is this alternate head that has a much meaner expression. Probably the meanest expression we got for any symbiote Spider-Man figure to date. And this just looks lovely. I do like everything about this head sculpt. To me, it just really encaptures the bad side the symbiote brings out of him. And in case you're wondering if this new head fits on the retro body, it does, and I think it fits fine. It looks good. The retro head on this Amazing Fantasy body is a little too big in my opinion. And if you want to try the other head on the retro body, I think that looks great too. Now, each figure from this wave comes with a movable portrait. As you can see, Peter Parker changing into Spider-Man. And this is to pay homage to that vintage line. And just like that vintage line, same feature. You could just untab this to swap out the picture. And each of them come with a Secret Wars logo. These little gaps you see right here, you're just going to align it like so. It has the directions right there. Close it up so you can have that logo right there. And it has that flip to clip system if you want to use it as a shield. Just going to go over that feature once, but you can clip it onto, let's say, his forearm right there. If you want to do that, recreate that vintage line like so. I called it this year that if Hasbro were going to do a Marvel Legends Secret Wars Wave Symbiote Spider-Man, then it should be on the AF buck. And they did just that. The new heads, newly retooled AF arms, first appearance logo, everything just feels right. Toe joints would have been icing on the cake. It might end up being my favorite Symbiote Spider-Man in Legends to date. I'm rating Symbiote Spider-Man a 9.75 out of 10. Next up, we have Wolverine in his iconic brown suit from the 80s era. Taking a look at the head sculpt, and I think Hasbro listened to me, because earlier this year I could have sworn I said I would like to see a masked Wolverine with the smirk expression, because I like when he's a smartass sometimes in the comics. Because I feel like we always get the same expressions under the cowl. It's either a neutral expression or an angry expression. And just to switch it up, it's nice to see a different expression, so I'll take this. And whether you like the smirk expression or not, I think it's still a nice sculpt. And they did something different with the ears. They feel very thin, like they feel much thinner, like a very thin plastic. So it's not the thicker one that they usually do. And I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's just a different feel. And I do like the white pupils painted there. Very nice facial hair stubble right there. So they killed it with the face print deco. For the rest of the body, he is on the X-Men 97 buck, which makes this the first pinless brown suit Wolverine. And bringing out the X-Men 97, comparing it from top to bottom, minus the head, they are the same. But another notable difference is the arms. So at first, I just thought they painted the hairs over the sculpt. But looking at it closely, the sculpt is completely different. You can see this huge vein bulging downwards from the bicep. So both arms are different. And another way you could tell is the gloves. The gloves here are sculpted on. It's not a separate piece. This one here, it's a separate piece. And as you can see, the flesh tone underneath that. So, and that's pretty much it besides the obvious, as he doesn't have shoulder pads and the belts are different. Now, I know some collectors are on the fence about this one because of the light brown deco, but they're just paying homage to the vintage line. And I always say there's nothing wrong with paying homage. And if it bothers you that much, then you know they're going to make another one with a darker brown deco, like an X-Men 97. He'll just have a different belt. But what I'm hoping for one of the next comic Wolverine figures, whether it's another updated brown suit or the tiger stripe one, is that they give us the double diaphragm joint like they did for the Astonishing X-Men. They can't just stick with this hardline waist swivel and the ab crunch anymore. It's time to update the classic suits for Wolverine using the new articulation system. Same claws as the X-Men 97 one, it's just a brighter silver. And I really like the way the arms came out. I like when they paint the hairs on top of the sculpt instead of just sculpting the hairs without painting them. That's annoying. But this looks really good. The belt, undies, the knees, and the boots all look good, and that's about it. Now for accessories, he comes with a new Logan head sculpt, and I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, it's not terrible, it's not that bad, but out of the ones that they've given us this year, this probably falls somewhere under my least favorites. And the hair doesn't flare out like normal, it's pointing upwards like Batman ears, so that's funny. It does give me somewhat of a vibe from those early 80s Logan looks. But let me know what you think. Then he comes with a pair of fists with no claws out. And lastly, he comes with his portrait. So you see Logan right there and then with his mask on. Not going to cover articulation with this guy as you already know what to expect. Love the homage to the vintage deco, and I can never say no to any brown suit Wolverines. I don't mind the smirk at all. The Logan head sculpt is growing on me a little more. An alternate head was definitely missing here, whether it's a stern or angry one. It would have benefited from an extra head. I'm rating Wolverine a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we'll take a look at another new classic take on Captain America. Taking a look at the default head for Cap, it's the smiling face, and I got some paint slop right there on the nose, as you can see, and a little bit right there on the A. Nothing I can really do, you know, paint varies between copies. So for the most part, you know, the sculpt is nice. It's good to have a smiling expression for Cap. So it's nice to finally get the pinless treatment on a classic Captain America, looking clean, looking smooth. And one thing I noticed is that the stripes right here on the torso matches the Secret Wars version, so it is more accurate because comparing it to the 20th anniversary Cap, you can see the white stripe is in the middle, where the middle stripe right here on the 20th Cap is red. We get a lighter blue deco this time, and I don't know which one I like more, blue Cap or light blue Cap. I like them both. And the downside to the blues not matching is that head swaps won't work because, again, they're different. So I just wish they were more consistent with the blues on Cap, so that way we get the most out of head swaps. And the only notable differences besides the pinless retooling are the gloves right here. It's a separate piece, so an additional layer, where this one is sculpted onto the arm. The hips, as you can see right here, it has wrinkled folds. This one is smoothed out, and that's pretty much it. For accessories, he comes with an alternate head with an angry expression, and the paint is much better on this one for me. He also comes with a salute hand and a pointing finger hand. 2 gripping hands, and he also has a broken shield. You get a nice silver paint deco for the cracks. It looks really cool. And he also comes with broken off pieces from the shield, and they do align, but they don't connect. And with these 2 pieces held together, they sort of align with the shield. I'm guessing like right there, but that's about it. I mean, this is great for photography. This is a pretty cool accessory. I've always wanted a broken shield for Cap, but I felt like they should have given us a non-broken one too. And it does have that flip the clip system. Also, the shield is kind of pliable. And the broken shield is another sweet callback to the comics in this wave because it was destroyed by Dr. Doom after stealing the Beyonder's powers. These gripping hands are not the normal C-grip type, as the thumb and index fingers are fused together, so there are things he won't properly hold. Like, I don't know what he's gonna do with this except for slicing someone in the throat. Imagine Cap throwing a chunk of shrapnel from his shield at someone. Hopefully it doesn't come back to slice him in the throat. And lastly, here's his portrait, switching from Steve Rogers to Captain America. I'm not covering articulation with this guy, but I will say it is a bummer that they did not implement the double diaphragm joint for Captain America. We need that already because the traditional ab crunch and waist swivel, hardline waist swivel, is not going to work for this guy. And on top of that, he needs butterfly joints for shield throwing poses. So yeah, I don't know why they don't do that, as his costume style calls for that kind of design. A pinless classic Cap was bound to happen. Though it has less accessories and paint than the 20th anniversary one, somehow this one looks better. I don't know if it's the pinless aesthetics or the light blue, but my eyes draw more towards this one for some reason. Still more room for improvements. I'm rating Cap an 8 out of 10. Next on deck, let's look at this updated classic version of Iron Man. So just like Captain America, Iron Man here is updated to pinless, which on his armor, it looks so much smoother and cleaner, especially comparing it to the Shang-Chi one. As you can see, oh man, it makes a difference not seeing those pins. Besides the pinless joints, it's basically the same sculpt as the Shang-Chi Wave one. The only difference is that this has the white pupils and the black mouth. This one has blue on the eyes and the mouth because it was based off that AI Tony Stark. Both have blue power nodes, where this one should have the yellow power node. Look at the big difference pinless makes. You can see that the new legs are straight, as these with the pins are kind of bow-legged and warped, so you're not going to get that with pinless joints. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the brighter red. The darker one does look a little bit better. I just wish they did a red paint job on this one. However, much better plastic than that of the Model 9. As you can see, it has that marbling plastic on it where it feels and looks almost translucent, whereas this one's solid, but it still kind of looks cheap. And I know I heard people say that the Iron Patriot red was cheap. Comparing these two next to Iron Patriot, I'm sorry, but this red is so much better than these two combined, because at least it has a more solid and a kind of a nice shimmer to it as well. I feel like this one would have benefited off this red. Now for accessories, he comes with 2 blue repulsor effects that you could plug into his feet or his hands. He also has a set of open hands, and attached to them are the steamy effects that came with Model 9, so they are reused here in a black translucent color. Then he comes with his blaster and a C-grip hand to hold it. It is on a vertical hinge. Pretty nice sculpt to this blaster, and also you could plug in the effects into the ports of this blaster, and that works. Then he comes with a pair of roller skates which you could just plug into the bottom of his feet, and this is a nice callback to that Secret Wars issue number 3 where he pulls out the roller skates. And the roller skates boosts his height a little bit, I would say about a ½ inch or so. And lastly, he comes with the portrait that switches from Tony Stark to Iron Man. Now in Secret Wars, it was Rhodey who was Iron Man, but they put Tony Stark here on the portrait to pay homage to the vintage line. Speaking of Rhodey, here's the Rhodey head on this Iron Man body. Now I know he didn't look like this in Secret Wars, as he didn't have the flat top or the beard, but if you never put any of the Rhodey heads on the other Iron Man bodies or never seen what it looks like, then I just want you to see how it looks like on this body. But it would have been really cool if they gave us an 80s classic style Rhodey head. Pinless joints must be mandatory for all classic Iron Man figures. There should be no exceptions. It looks too perfect not to do it. Lots of the same rehashed accessories we've seen before with Iron Man, but at least we get some new ones here with the blaster and roller skates. I'll still count the different colored smoke effects since we just got them this year too. He could have borrowed better paint apps on the red areas. I'm rating Iron Man a 7.75 out of 10. Next up is Titania. This is fitting as she made her first appearance in Secret Wars. The portrait on this Titania came out absolutely beautiful. She's enraged and I love it. The mask came out a little bit darker than the costume. I wished it matched in color tone, but the lipstick looks very nice. I just love this angry expression. The hair came out very nice and wavy. Slight, very subtle dry brushing on the hair. Very subtle, but it's there. And overall, it's an amazing head sculpt. This body is an all-new sculpt from scratch, and Hasbro is back on their woke shit. They freaking censored her, man. They really covered the Titanias here. And as you can see, if you're a comic book purist like I am, you know that she's supposed to have bare skin right here. They just painted pink over it. And that's more of a modern touch on Titania, but this is supposed to be Secret Wars classic. And don't tell me they can't do a bare-chested skin, because look what we have here, Lady Deathstrike. And it goes all the way to the waist down, you know? So they definitely could have done it here, but they didn't have the balls to do it this time. You know, the logo right here is supposed to make a T for Titania here, so I guess by painting that, it'll make it stand out more. Maybe that was their approach. I don't know. You can see the skin tone seeping through the paint. So I guess if you want a classic comic accurate Titania, you could use nail polish remover and maybe get that out. You just got to be careful when you get to the belt line. Now I'm sure I'm going to get those comments that pass my critiquing here as being a pervert, but I don't care what you say. I'm all about comic accuracy, and if it offends you, then grow a set of balls, Snowflake. And the belt is painted in a very nice metallic gold color. Look at the reflection on that. That came out very beautiful. And then she has the spikes painted in silver along the arms. That looks great. And she is buffed, man. Hasbro's been killing it with the powerhouse ladies. These brick house babes, man. They are killing it with the sculpt. Look at the thighs. The thigh highs, right? Not thigh highs, knee highs, and the sculpt is great too. You get more spikes on there, painted in a metallic silver. And another thing is that the hands should be in purple, not the flesh tone. In Secret Wars, they were purple. I know she's had them, you know, bare hands before without the gloves, but to me, I prefer the purple hands. I feel like she could have used more upper back muscles. I feel like all the muscles are down here below the waist, so that would have definitely helped. I mean, it's very subtle, but for someone like Titania, that's supposed to be very defined and prominent. For accessories, she comes with these gripping hands, which are also newly sculpted. And lastly, she comes with her portrait that switches from Mary McFerrin to Titania. For articulation, her head can't move up, unfortunately, because of the hair, so you can't have her looking up to She-Hulk, which is a bummer. And then her head does move down, though, and it moves left to right. You got the pivoting right there. Her arms can move up slightly higher than the T-pose. The top spike on her deltoid muscle can actually tuck underneath the shoulder socket, as it's a pliable material, allowing you to move that arm up and not hinder the range. And you can move her arm up and down. You got the bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows, great range, wrist swivel, and a wrist hinge. The diaphragm joint is just the upper torso swivel, so you're only gonna get that much as far as moving forward and back. I really wish she had some sort of double diaphragm joint, but it looks like it wasn't going to happen with the belt. It would definitely ruin the aesthetics, so I understand that. But you get the swivel, you do get some very nice pivoting, and it rocks around. The legs, she can almost make a full split, which is crazy. And she kicks up really high, kicks that far back for a frontward split. Legs rock around. No thigh swivel, but it's very low at the knees, so almost like a knee swivel. So you don't get that cut. And I don't know why they didn't do this with Warbird. They could have saved a cut and have it hidden right at the thigh high there, you know. So this looks clean. I like the way this looks. So this didn't make no sense doing it mid-thigh right there, but I do like that. And then you got the double jointed knees, no heel to the Titania butt, and then you have her ankles that you can move up and down, and you got the ankle rockers. It's strange when I complain about wanting more paint, but here they gave us more paint where it wasn't needed. She was one less paint job away from being classic comic book perfection. The less is more route would have been super effective. Everything else is perfect from sculpting to posing. A top 10 female figure this year. I'm rating Titania a 9.75 out of 10. Lastly, and most importantly, the very first ever action figure of the Beyonder. Taking a close look at the Beyonder's head sculpt. I mean, it looks like the Beyonder, and that's a good thing. He's got his curly hair, he's got that evil-like grin. So overall, looks pretty nice. And then the rest of the body here, all new sculpt from scratch. So the villains do get the all new sculpted treatment in this wave. And man, I always thought that they were just gonna take pieces of the Red Skull body, like the pants and the arms and such, but no, it is an all new sculpt, and I like it a lot. So he's got his disco suit here, and really nice sculpt. They didn't add any shaders to it, but it is in a nice pearlescent white, and I like it. Instead of the pure white, it's a pearlescent white, and I think it looks very good on the Beyonder. I think this was the right approach to do it, because their white plastic does get dirty a lot. Yeah, the sculpt came out really, really nice. So he's got his pants right there and the boots, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Now for accessories, Beyonder comes with a set of open hands and a Battle World accessory if you want him to hold it, and it looks pretty freaking cool. I love all the cracks and rubbles there. The flames are in a translucent color. You get a few paint apps like some beige and green, and looking at it all around on the back right there, it's almost all translucent right there, so it looks really, really good. And lastly, he has his portrait, so you can see the Beyonder and him being powered up. The villains have the squared shape instead, where the heroes have the more roundish shape. Now for articulation, I ran into some things that I felt was poorly executed, and I didn't end up liking it, so I'll touch on that as we go along. His head moves about that far up and looks that far down. Left, right, you get your pivoting and it rocks around. The arms move about that far up. You can move the arms up and down. Very clicky. It doesn't have a very smooth flow. I mean, it's not terrible, but that clickiness, that clicking kind of annoys me. You got the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbows, you got the wrist swivel and the wrist hinge, and also the torso here. I am not a fan of how they did the torso. It's on the belly rocker, which, I mean, for the aesthetics, it's fine. I still felt like they could have snuck in an ab crunch, and they didn't. And what they did right here was the ball jointed waist, but look at that freaking peg. Look how long that is. It's a freaking stick. It's not a proper ball joint. I don't get it. Like, they killed it with the MCU Deadpool with the double ball jointed neck that he had, and that was like Jada Toys-esque. Why couldn't they do it with this? That's just bad. So you can't even get a proper ab crunch with this guy. Like, that's all you're gonna get. That's barely anything. So waist swivel, very clicky. Again, you get the pivoting right there. The legs spread out that far apart, so you could get a full split. Legs kick up about that high, kick that far back. It's an awkward frontward split. The legs are just very weird in the way they move. If you want to get them in a seating pose and move the legs up and outward, it looks so weird. Legs rock around. You got the thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and heel to the back. My God, don't know why the lower leg is so much bigger than the thigh. So proportions is a little wonky here. And then no cap swivel, no boot swivel whatsoever. And it's just annoying because force of habit, like when I see things like this, my brain just wants to go automatically towards the boot swivel, and it's not there. It's sort of like a trigger mechanism for me. I keep going back to it like some sort of muscle memory. It's just not there. It's just not there, and it's annoying. He needed that boot swivel. Can't really do much. Gotta rely on the thigh swivel. You know, more poses could have been utilized if he had the boot swivel. The ankles move up that far. They move down that low, and he does have the all-around ankle rockers. Yeah, certain areas of articulation bummed me out, but I can't help but to feel elated as I finally have the Beyonder in my collection. Too important of a villain not to have. Giving us an all-new sculpt from scratch is appreciated, and the Battle World accessory is a good one too. An all-head was needed. 40 years in the making for this character to finally have an action figure, and I'm sure for the hardcore fans, it'll be worth the wait. I'm rating Beyonder a 7 out of 10. Alright, let's compare and look at this new Spider-Man next to some of my other two favorite symbiote versions, the Ultimate Spider-Man and the Retro Wave Symbiote Spider-Man. Here is Wolverine, Captain America, and Iron Man next to some of their previous released versions. The new cap is shorter as they adjusted the leg proportions and are not as long like the last one. Here's a good look at Titania with all the new female powerhouse body types, as we have Power Princess on the left and her arch nemesis She-Hulk on the right. They absolutely nailed it with these powerhouse bucks. This gives me faith that they'll kill it with more powerhouse females like a classic Valkyrie, Stunner, Lady Hellbender, anyone from the Femizons, and more. I mean, look at the perfected scaling between Titania and She-Hulk compared to the comics. Best one there is. It's a home run. Lastly, here are the two villains of Secret Wars 1 and 2, Dr. Doom and the Beyonder. And now to wrap things up, my final rating as a collective is an 8 out of 10. This has to be one of their best throwbacks they've ever done. I understand the lenticular coins played a main highlight in the vintage line, but nowadays those gimmick features don't fly. They should have used those plastic resources towards much more useful accessories and spread them across those that needed it in the wave. I would have swapped out Cap and Iron Man for a classic Falcon and a classic Doc Ock with bendable tentacles or a Constrictor. That way we have a fair split of 3 heroes and 3 villains. Spider-Man and Wolverine are 2 strong anchors in the wave. You didn't need 4 anchors. They could have saved Cap and Iron Man together in a multi-pack with Thor. Speaking of Thor, now with an updated Cap and Iron Man in this wave, it's safe to say we can expect that updated pinless classic Thor for the next Secret Wars wave. I'll place my bets that's what will happen. Other than that, the wave is still a beautiful commemorative tribute. As far as the figures go, they are all pretty solid to me. Captain America and Iron Man have the most accessories in the wave. Wolverine and Cap needed double diaphragm joints, but still nice updates. Beyonder is one of the biggest checkboxes marked off my wish list. Now I'll need his armored version, which is the one I want more, in the next Secret Wars wave. Symbiote Spider-Man and Titania are the best figures in the wave, hands down. Can't decide which one of those two are my favorites in this wave, as they are both incredible figures in hand. I'm leaning more towards Titania, but I'm also biased as Symbiote Spider-Man is my all-time favorite alternate costume for the wall crawler. This is still one of my favorite waves all year. They nailed every retro wave this year, with this one ending the year with a bang for releases. Now I kick it back to you. What do you think of the Secret Wars wave? Who are your most sought after figures? Who's the best one in the wave? And what is your wish list for Secret Wars Wave 2 or Secret Wars 2 Wave 1? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for watching another Marvel Legends review. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xman87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next review. Peace, peace.